Imagine, for a moment, being no larger than an ink dot living on a sheet of paper. Your entire world stretches in two directions, forward and backward, left and right. You know nothing of up or down. To you, the page is complete, sufficient, infinite. Now imagine if a human hand hovered over that page, a vast presence existing in a direction you cannot even fathom. To the flat creature, that hand belongs to another universe altogether, though in truth it is only a step away, in a dimension just beyond reach. This thought experiment is where we begin, because for all our sophistication, we humans are little more than that flat creature when it comes to understanding the deeper fabric of reality. For centuries, we've walked with certainty through three familiar directions: height, width, and depth. Place your hand on a table. You can measure it from side to side, from front to back, from top to bottom. These are the coordinates of your daily existence, the invisible scaffolding through which you navigate. Then came the profound realization of the early 20th century, crafted through Einstein's insight. Time is not separate from this scaffolding, but woven into it. A clock does not tick detached from space. Its rhythm is stitched into the same cloth. Thus was born the idea of spacetime, a unified stage composed of three dimensions of space and one of time, our four-dimensional home. Einstein's equations showed this stage is not stiff or unyielding. It bends, curves, trembles. A heavy planet resting on it is like a ball sinking into a soft quilt, and that indentation guides the movement of moons, comets, and even the path of light itself. Gravity is no longer a mysterious force reaching out across nothingness. It is the gentle slope carved into the very geometry of existence. The stars lean into one another's weight not through invisible strings, but through the stretching and warping of the cosmic fabric they all lie upon. This metaphor of fabric is more than poetic. One-dimensional path reveals itself as more, once your perspective shrinks enough to see the hidden directions curled inside. Physicists have leaned on this image to ask their most daring question. What if our universe itself is such a rope? What if at every point in our familiar three dimensions, there are smaller dimensions curled so tightly we simply stride past without ever noticing? This idea is not merely poetic fancy, but a serious scientific proposal. A century ago, in the 1920s, Theodore Kaluza tried a bold mathematical experiment. He asked, what if, instead of four dimensions of space-time, there were five? His gamble was strange, but elegant. By adding a fifth dimension to Einstein's equations, something remarkable happened. Electromagnetism, the force that crackles through lightning and hums in every atom, appeared naturally from the mathematics, as if it had always been there, hidden in plain sight inside that extra direction. Soon after, Kaluza Klein refined the vision. He imagined this additional dimension not as an expanse like length or height, but as something wound into tight circles, as small and invisible as the loops the ant traces around the rope. Too tiny for eyes, microscopes, or even early experiments to notice. This dimension would be everywhere and nowhere, thread-like in its subtlety. Together, their theory, known as Kaluza Klein theory, offered a glimpse of unity, gravity, and electromagnetism, woven from the same cosmic fabric, if only one dared to believe in dimensions unseen. Decades later, physicists stretched the imagination even further. In string theory, the building blocks of the universe are not points, but minute vibrating strings. And for those vibrations to make sense, the mathematics insists upon additional dimensions more than our 4, 10, sometimes 11, depending on the version. These are not dimensions unfurling into grand galaxies, but dimensions curled into folds so small that even the most powerful instruments cannot yet confirm them. Each fold shapes the symphonies of a string's vibration, different notes produced by different geometric twists, like music blossoming from the architecture of silence itself. Our broad daily world of length, width, depth, and time feels infinite to us, yet it may be just the simplest stage of existence. Beneath it might hum microcosmic passageways, intricate loops as delicate as embroidery, layered all around. They are folded so tightly they escape ordinary sight, but they may carry within them the keys to unifying the forces of nature. There is beauty here, but also strangeness. On one side, the sharp elegance of equations striving toward clarity, trying to unify the laws of creation. On the other hand, a dreamy unknowability, a universe playing hide-and-seek with corridors too small to open. Our steps fall across floorboards we think solid, but tucked inside each plank may lurk staircases spiraling in directions we cannot yet inhabit. Imagine lying in a quiet room, pressing your ear against the polished wood of a violin. From the outside, you hear the song, the melody dancing lightly through the air. But with your ear pressed close, you sense something deeper. The hum of harmonics woven beneath the main tune, little whispers of sound you never noticed before. They belong not to the melody itself, but to the shape of the instrument, to the hollow spaces carved inside. This is how some physicists believe the universe sings. Not with violins, but with filaments far smaller than atoms, tiny loops of vibrating strings. The idea of string theory tells us that everything you know, every particle, every flicker of light or gravity, is not an indivisible point, but a note produced by a vibrating string. The strings hum in patterns, and those patterns, like instruments across an unseen orchestra, compose the symphony of reality. But here is the secret twist. Just as a violin shapes sounds through the unique hollow of its body, the vibrations of these cosmic strings are shaped by tiny hidden dimensions. These dimensions, called Calabi manifolds, are like intricate hallways folded tightly into every speck of space. Imagine walking into a house with dozens of rooms curled inside one another, most of which you cannot open, but whose architecture changes the way your voice echoes in the halls. The strings vibrate within these secret rooms, their rhythms determined by geometry so delicate and complex that it is almost unthinkable. Each possible shape of these folded manifolds produces a different tuning of the universe. One geometry yields one set of particles and forces, another geometry, a radically different kind of reality altogether. Our cosmos may be just one melody chosen from an infinite range of possible songs, shaped by how dimensions beyond our eyes curled into themselves long ago. When you look around at the sky, or even when you glance at your own reflection, you might think the universe is silent. But perhaps what you perceive is just the surface, the main melody, while beneath it hums an orchestra of delicate resonances. The curled dimensions act as hidden resonating chambers, tucked so tightly we cannot press our ear close enough to hear directly. And yet they are there, humming behind the curtain of perception, sustaining the very notes that compose your body, your breath, your thoughts. To walk through daily life is to believe stillness reigns. Yet if string theory is true, every grain of sand is quivering with invisible music. Every atom is a violin strung by unseen dimensions. The still universe is in fact restless, vibrating tirelessly, its harmonics keeping galaxies spinning in vast arcs and photons flickering across impossible stretches of darkness. There is comfort in thinking that we live not in silence, but inside a cosmic harp whose strings extend beyond measure. The darkness you see when you close your eyes is full of invisible chords, woven into your existence like a lullaby you have long forgotten but still somehow recall. We cannot touch these hidden shapes, but they may be stroking across every particle, inscribing each with its particular rhythm. Imagine walking past a heavy velvet curtain in a quiet theater. You can't see what's behind, but you sense the slightest stir, a faint draft, a hint of light along the edges, suggesting activity hidden from your view. That is how many scientists now picture our relationship with higher dimensions. We stand before a curtain, aware of only our stage, but perhaps there are others just beyond, veiled by folds we cannot yet part. In the language of modern physics, such imaginings take the form of brain-world cosmologies. According to this vision, our universe is not the whole of existence. Instead, it may be a vast membrane, a brain floating within an even larger arena of higher dimensional space, which theorists call the bulk. Everything you know, stars, planets, your breath rising slowly in the dark, is inscribed upon this brain, bound to it like ink that cannot slip from the page. Beyond it, separated by gulfs as slight as a whisper, may lie other brains carrying their own realities. Picture our membrane as a sheet of paper floating gently in a vast, invisible ocean. On another layer, close but untouchable, drifts a second sheet. and upon that sheet a different cosmos altogether. Worlds with their own physics, galaxies unfolding to their own rhythms. Beings perhaps wondering if something lies just out of reach across the curtain. These parallel universes would not be off in distant corners of space, but directly beside us, hidden along dimensions we cannot step through. The metaphors multiply, each more haunting than the last. Imagine a hallway lined with closed doors, each leading to a different room, but your key fits only the one you know. Or a mirror that reflects not your image, but the shimmer of an adjacent world peering through. Sometimes, in mathematics, these worlds press close enough that forces might briefly leak between, like muffled voices bleeding through walls. Gravity, in particular, is so weak compared to the other fundamental forces that it might betray such leakage, whispering of interactions with dimensions beyond our comprehension. String theory extended itself toward this wild horizon with Brane notions that strings could pin themselves to membranes, that entire universes might be stitched as surfaces floating in higher realms. It sounds like poetry, yet some physicists see a genuine possibility. The flicker of dark matter, for instance, the unseen mass that outweighs normal matter, could perhaps be a signature of neighboring branes casting gravitational shadows onto our shapes moving behind the cosmic curtain, felt though unseen. If true, then the multiverse is not a palace of imagination alone, but a structure with walls, corridors, and neighbors. We inhabit an apartment in an infinite building, hearing echoes from flats we cannot visit. Each brain is a room of reality, each dimension a hidden hallway joining what our senses dismiss as impossible. Still, caution softens the dream. There is no experiment, yet peeling back the curtain, no telescope catching light from another stage. These doorways are mostly drawn in mathematics and metaphor. But even if they remain forever out of reach, they gift us the wonder of possibility, that our solitude in the universe may be an illusion, that beyond the veil there may be countless others, brushing past invisibly, never touching yet forever near. So when you pause at night and feel the hush pressing in, consider the folds around you. Perhaps the quiet is not emptiness at all, but the silence of corridors waiting to be opened. And if these veiled rooms exist, what paths might they offer? What journeys through hidden dimensions await, just beyond the hinged curtain of reality? Imagine your life as a single thread in a grand tapestry. From where you stand, you glimpse only the fibers nearest to you, the neighbors you meet, the goals you chase, the moments that shimmer like beads of light. But woven around you are colors, patterns, entire motifs invisible to your vantage point, forming a design far grander than you could see alone. Hidden dimensions evoke this same sense, that reality may hold layers we cannot yet trace, but which shape us nonetheless. Why should humanity care? Because even the whisper of extra dimensions awakens something essential: curiosity, both scientific and spiritual. Physicists search doggedly for clues. At enormous particle colliders, they smash protons together, hoping that debris might scatter into unseen corridors, betraying the presence of dimensions compacted beyond our view. Others test whether gravity leaks, ever so slightly, into realms outside our four-dimensional world. Its peculiar weakness is perhaps a sign it seeps into spaces we cannot touch. And yet, beyond laboratories, the meaning deepens. To imagine hidden worlds is to confront our own smallness, to realize our daily certainties. The tabletop before you, the seconds ticking by, may be only a surface layer. We navigate by shadows on a wall, while behind us stretches an architecture profound and unseen. At the same time, this thought expands us. If dimensions fold invisibly at every point in space, they fold around you, too. Your very body a doorway threaded through mystery. In that sense, hidden dimensions are more than a technical curiosity. They are reminders that reality is richer than sight, deeper than touch. They humble us, yet they also lift us human beings not as isolated walkers on a flat plane, but as participants in a cosmos whose fullness we have only begun to grasp. So as you breathe into the stillness of night, remember, the quest for extra dimensions is also the quest to understand our place. Are we ripples upon a surface, or notes resonating from folded strings? And so we return to the night, asking when we finally sleep and dream, Do we drift closer to those hidden realms of reality? Feel your breath rising and falling, steady as the tide, as if it were keeping time with some vaster rhythm, the hushed pulse of a universe stretched across dimensions unseen. Each inhale a note, each exhale a release, your own body moving in quiet duet with the hidden harmonies of existence. Even if those extra folds of reality remain forever beyond touch, their possibility changes the way we rest inside the night. For at the edge of physics, science becomes something soft and luminous, almost poetry. The search for unseen dimensions is not just a matter of chalkboards and equations. It is an act of wonder stitched onto the cosmos, a reminder that the universe is not a closed book, but a tapestry constantly revealing new weaves beneath old ones. Just as your mind drifts into dreams, reality may hold dreams folded into itself, worlds curled inside worlds, resonances waiting for their listener. Mystery is no threat here. It is a gift and an invitation to lean into the unknown with curiosity instead of fear. The stillness of your room tonight is layered with secrets, as though space itself is humming to you, promising that there is more than meets the eye. So close your eyes gently now. Let the hum fold around your rest. If hidden dimensions exist, who is to say they do not weave through our very dreams tonight?